also been kind of trying to find a way to mentor. I think I've told the story before, but I used to be a prosecutor, and one of the things you have to do sometimes is what they call first appearance, which is when someone's been arrested, they go before the judge the next day. They do that for juveniles and adults. So one day I went out to juvenile first appearance, and there was this kid who was, I think, like 11 or 12, who had been arrested for, he had stabbed his teacher with a pencil. And they brought him in actually from Apalachicola, from a few counties away, and they were like, well, where's your mom? And he said, my mom's in prison. Where's your dad? I don't know who my dad is. Well, who are you living with? Well, I was living with my brother, but he just got arrested the day before. So this kid was essentially homeless, and everyone in his life had been in the system. And he, was 11, but looked like he could have been 7 to me, and he just looked like a baby. So I think that kind of really spurred me on, because I think at that point, you just realize how much kids are struggling. And thankfully Gunner's not in that type of situation, never has been, but I think that was what really kind of spurred me on to think, like, there's some people out there who just really need someone in their life who can give them some direction and some hope, maybe, that this cycle doesn't have to be you necessarily.
Yeah.
The fact that he isn't like other bigs, he can help me with a lot of things. Like, I think, was an eating jump for homework. It was like a couple of weeks ago, and he didn't hesitate to help me out,
I think that I'd probably think of 3. I mean, my wedding obviously was a big one, because that was fun, and it was one of those things I wanted Gunner to know how much he meant to me, and I also wanted him to, I don't think he'd ever even been to a wedding before, and so I wanted him to kind of see that and envision that for himself one day. And so that was neat to me. A couple actually really recently, he had a little guitar concert at Ronnie's in the guitar class, and he was really excited for me to come and see that. And when we first met, I don't think Gunner was that excited about things he was doing at school, and he's transitioning into middle school now, and that's been a bit of a jump for him, and he's had to adjust, but just the fact that he had something in school he was excited about and wanted us to come to, that was fun. And actually just yesterday, it was my daughter's first birthday party, and Gunner came over and was kind of like my little party assistant a little bit, like making sure the provisions were out and all that. And so just having him there for kind of those big moments in my life, and seeing that, and my hope is, again, hoping he sees that for himself in the future, that he could have a house, a kid, all these things, big events like that. That it just meant a lot to me to have him at those big events in my life, and for him to embrace it. I mean, him hold my daughter and all these things, and the dogs get excited when he comes over. It's like he's a part of the family. So having him for that is always fun.
Yeah, probably during the wedding.
What was it like to be in his wedding?
Well, I was nervous because everybody was looking at me.
Yeah.
But it was fun. Well, I don't feel like I'd be doing as well in school. A lot more fun with big. Yeah.
Good to
I remember when we first met, she was having some issues with reading, and that was some of the early events we could go to the library and pick out like they had these Lego Ninja books or little things that he was into, and we would read for a while. And a few years into it, he would tell me about books he had just been reading for fun, or things he'd been reading at school, and he went from being behind to being on an accelerated reading level. So that meant a lot to me, that he not only got better in that area, but he was starting to really enjoy it. He was starting to see not just the educational value, but the fun in reading in books. So that was definitely probably the biggest one to me. And he moved, in some ways he was, I won't say a victim of his own success, but he went into RA, and he went from being in some classes for people who were remedial in some areas to more advanced classes. And I think that's been kind of an adjustment for him in middle schools. Now all of a sudden he's in a much higher, and he had to adjust to that, but he has, and he's doing well. But that's been cool to see him make that transition and kind of move to the place I know he can be in school-wise and reading and all of that.
I've set a goal that I want to go to college.
You know, I hope it just continues on. You know, I don't really see an end to it. I mean, the way I look at it, I'll always be there for Gunner his whole life, you know, as long as he wants me to be.
I love Will. I love him to death. I think he's been a great match for Gunnar. As I've told the agency, told Will, I wish we could have like 50 million of them, because if we could just make more Wills, everybody would have a great match.